Welcome back. It's another edition of the Throwing Bagels Podcast. And I got to admit, the dust still hasn't settled from when the Knicks won the title. It's still Knicks in 5, baby.
It's not going to settle for a long time,
No.
especially with the way this summer's going.
Yeah, especially because we're all Met fans. So it's like, that's all. Chris is a Bulls fan, so whatever, Chris.
Well, I mean, they haven't been good.
I'll never feel bad for. Anyway. I'll never feel bad for Chris ever.
No, I had my fill when I was younger. It's cool.
It's fair. Hi, I'm Kevin Mooney, joined as always by Jason Habo and Chris Douglas. Hey, guys.
Hello there.
And we have yet another fantastic guest, and it's a pleasure, genuine pleasure to welcome him back on now. It's been like, I don't know, 3 years or ish since we've last spoken with our next guest. He's an associate professor at SUNY Oswego, also the director of Oswego's sports studies minor. It's our genuine pleasure to welcome back Dr. Chris Mack. Hey, Dr. I can talk. I'll call you Chris. How about that? Hey, Chris.
You can call me anything you'd like, guys. Anything you'd like.
We're not in school anymore. It's okay.
No, that's right.
Great to be here.
We're friends now. Yes. So, Chris, you've taught courses on, the social and cultural history of sports, also other courses like the West of the World, warfare in the 20th century society. So a lot of different courses that kind of track along with history and sociology and things like that. So, and you're also a huge fan of football, the global sport. What we're witnessing right now with the World Cup taking place in Canada, in the U.S., in Mexico, right when the U.S. is celebrating its 250th anniversary, seems like this is an unprecedented time for sports and culture in the U.S., isn't it?
Oh, it is for sure. I mean, it's, as you suggest, there's this confluence of two, fantastically important events in U.S. history, and you can definitely make the argument in global history as well. And it's an awesome opportunity once again for the United States to showcase, our unique experiment, political, social, cultural, and otherwise, to the world. And we've seen that it's been wildly embraced, right, by all these visiting fans from all over the place. And, Chris, I think, really did a nice job on the blog and on your last, podcast, talking about how, it's what's going on off the field is as important as what's going on the field. And so to see this, mixture of cultures all done, through the spirit, well, we could talk about this, of sportsmanship, right, and good feeling, it's spectacular. So, yeah, it's a marvelous summer, that's for sure, in a whole host of ways.
So what's been your favorite part about having the World Cup in America and just having the World Cup in general?
I think it really is an opportunity, again, because we've seen such a tremendous growth in the sport here over the last decade or so, to, showcase again that the United States not only has a greater appreciation for the global game, but also, can pull together and has this capacity to organize an event like this that, at least in terms of the organization and the games themselves and all of that fan support and camaraderie that we've seen in all three countries, host countries, that's been super special, I think.
So, speaking of government interference, as you know, our esteemed U.S. striker Florian Balogun was given a red card in the last match and suspended. He wasn't supposed to be playing against Belgium. Have you ever seen a situation where a president has gotten directly in contact with FIFA and had this red card suspension overturned or delayed?
Obviously, this is an unprecedented event. However, it's not the first time that there's been this kind of interference in World Cup soccer. In 1934, the Italian team had a great deal. The games were in Rome, and Mussolini was very much involved in what was going on and off the field. And the story goes, he put a lot of pressure on the Italian players. And the same would hold true in 1938 And so there's been political interference by, heads of nation states before, but never to this degree, right? To me, this tournament's, the directive went down from FIFA that they were going to call this very loose. There was going to be a lot of physical contact. And again, going back to the Knicks, we see the same thing in the NBA playoffs and in other sports. And that had its controversies as well, right? I mean, I don't know. I think Wemby got a little bit of favorable treatment there in that one. But a win's a win, we'll take. But the refereeing, when you let it go and you let it be that physical and that loose, that kind of gives the players the sense that this is the way it's going to be, and they're going to keep moving the marker of when that card's going to be pulled. And in a few instances in the tournament, I think that's kind of the case. That I don't know. At least if I were refereeing, it would be called a little bit more tightly. And then you have the Balogun incident where, again, Chris, you're probably in the best place to sort of weigh in on this one. When it goes through at full speed, it's definitely a yellow card. But when you play it back at super slow-mo, then it certainly looks worse than perhaps it was. And the red card comes out. So I think in my mind, at least, there was a sort of prelude that led up to this incident, and it had to do with what FIFA was doing with their instructions to the referees. I don't know, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah. So I there's a couple things. So the refereeing has been inconsistent, I think would be a fair statement. I know people say at the beginning of the tournament with Messi stepping on the back of someone's calf. That was not a red card to me. It should have been a yellow, but not a red card, only because there was actually contact before that happened. But there's been other instances where there were 100% red cards that were not given out. Right. With the Balogun situation, does VAR slow it down? Yes. But if you look at it at full speed from a different angle, it looks like a terrible, terrible tackle. And it's 100% a red card in any league. I don't think that was the incorrect call. I think people are upset because, hey, we're in America and this is our tournament. And we're the darlings of the tournament and that sort of stuff. And I think that happened a lot on social media. But when you get other referees' opinions on it, that's definitely a red card. There is no question about it.
What
Right.
about
Yeah.
what about the fact that it wasn't actually called on the field before they went to VAR, right?
Yeah.
Are you allowed? Should you even be allowed to go to VAR and overturn it? Right? If they gave him a yellow card to start with, at least they could upgrade it. But the fact that there was no call and then all of a sudden they went to VAR, is that a legitimate thing to do?
Absolutely, yeah. Because they're considering they're taking all the considerations as far as what serious foul play involves, and that came down to serious foul play, because when he gets on the calf, that's probably not going to be a red card. But when he kind of stomps down, even if it was an inadvertent, doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But once he stops down on the ankle and the ankle twists, that's absolutely serious foul play. He could have broken his ankle really easy in that. Not like Jordan Henderson jumping over the barricade yesterday and breaking his arm without contact. I think that's probably the first player in World Cup history to get a yellow card and get stretchered off without ever playing a minute.
That's true. That is totally true. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but you're right. I think I've definitely seen, red cards given for those kinds of tackles all the time.
Yeah.
So that didn't seem out of character to me either. And then we get down to the political interference. And, this all goes back, obviously, to the fecklessness of FIFA. It's not a good look for the U.S. and for, what the legacy of this tournament's going to be. I don't know. I've talked to a lot of people who are, patriotic U.S. fans, but they wouldn't mind if Belgium won tonight. They think that, ball don't lie. So,
yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
But there's also talk I've heard and about the referee from that game, who was Brazilian. I think he's Brazilian, and he had actually gotten in trouble for fixing matches. So, there is the whole, not that I think he was necessarily fixing that match, but there's why should he even be refereeing? I mean, it's FIFA, obviously, so there's you can go many different ways with that whole thing. But like, why is someone like him refereeing a match, knowing he's been in trouble for fixing matches previously?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
and
That's a great question.
And Dr. Mack, I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that previously. Like, obviously, there's been plenty of fixing of games and things throughout history, right? There was just the whole NBA stuff
Right.
recently, but have you ever really seen, besides the NBA with Tim Donaghy, I guess, more recently than that, any other fixing of matches?
Well, I mean, again, there's all kinds of, finger pointing and innuendo, and those matches that the Italian matches I told you about in the 30s was one of the instances where they thought there was undue pressure applied to the referees. And in the first World Cup in 1930, the U.S. actually, I don't know if, people are aware of this. The U.S. finished third in the 1930 World Cup. But there was no playoff game to determine whether or not the U.S. would finish third. The only reason we finished third is because Yugoslavia, what was then Yugoslavia, they had lost 6-1, I think, to Argentina in the semifinals, and they were so disgusted. The referee actually called the match early, mistakenly, and they were so upset and disgusted they just went home. So the U.S. by default got the third place position, right? But again, there's been no suggestion that the referee was, gambling or fixing or match fixing or anything like that. It's probably just a case of nerves and incompetence in that case. There's every World Cup, there's going to be refereeing controversies, right? Where people are pointing the finger and suggesting that there might be, undue influence. Another big one was in 1954, the wonder at the miracle at Bern when West Germany beat Hungary. This was a Hungary team that had, run the table on everybody in the last 5 years, but didn't have their best player in the final, or at least not to his capacity, right? Ferenc Puskás had been injured in the previous matches. And again, because of rough play. And so, the best team, like we saw with France and Paraguay, that's another way to win a match, right? So, in this case, Puskás is injured. West Germany comes from a 2-0 deficit and wins, wins the game. And again, there was suggestions that the referee, was under some sort of undue influence, but we don't have any evidence of that. So, yeah, I can't really point the finger at any, match fixing scandals with directly, just by implication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just one more point on the VAR to answer Jason's question a little bit more directly. That's the reason VAR was introduced, right? Because in the past you would have seen the replay and you'd have been like, what was that? Like, why wasn't there any punishment on that? And also, the referee's angle may have been different. He may not have seen it in the first instance too. So that is also something that happens. But yeah, it was the reason VAR was introduced, but to get those calls correct and to minimize those errors.
Can the side referees say anything in that case? Can
every
they,
referee? Yep.
So
every referee on the field has the ability to let the referee. That's why they've got the communications now.
Okay.
To let that referee know, hey, I think that might be worthy of a yellow card, or hey, VAR will step in at that point. Hey, you should take a look at this. We think that there's some serious foul play here. So yeah, absolutely. Every referee, even a fourth official and now fifth officials, have the ability to make that decision, or at least let the referee know about that.
As this is a semi-breaking news, but as we're talking, we're about 45 minutes away from the start of the U.S.-Belgium game, and Balogun will start.
Yes,
for the U.S. This evening. There was some talk about the U.S. being in a bad spot because of this whole, suspension. Where do you sit him anyway to, save face, or do you play him and say, all right?
There was no way they were going to sit him.
So then they're not.
Playing.
So he's playing.
Yeah, I would have fallen out of my chair if he wasn't on the pitch.
Exactly. Can you imagine Pochettino being like, "You're not playing today"?
No, go ahead. You can have a seat. It's fine. But is this? I mean, Dr. Mack, as you mentioned, was 1930? Was that the furthest the U.S. had ever gotten in a World Cup to that point, the first ever World Cup. Yeah. So how good is this particular edition of the U.S. men's national team?
I'm frankly amazed. They've been struggling, and there's been all kinds of criticisms of Pochettino and what he was doing, and where's the guy who coached at Spurs and elsewhere, but he's figured it out, I guess. After all the trials and tribulations, the experiments, all the different lineup changes. He's put a team on the field that's obviously played very, very well. And when you look at this team and you compare it to, past U.S. teams, we've got some really, really good players out there. Mm-hmm. And they've found a good chemistry. And again, as an Arsenal fan, to have Flo Balogun, showing up like this at the right time is huge for him, and obviously huge for the team and the country. So this is, I don't know. I'm not going out there with Micah Ruzioni and predicting, a miracle. But they've certainly they deserve where they are right now, right? We'll see what happens tonight. Belgium hasn't really distinguished themselves in this tournament. So as the one-time German national coach in the 1930s, Sepp Ehrberger said, "Das Ball ist rund." The ball is round. Anything can happen.
There's not getting political or anything on here, but there's a funny meme going around that Trump made the phone call to get Balogun to play, and Balogun is a birthright citizen who was born here because his mother was pregnant, and just the dichotomy of that whole thing going on after everything that's just happened with the Supreme Court and everything like that. It's kind of very ironic,
That happens every 15 minutes, though, now, doesn't it? Come on. Yeah, it's definitely that and more, depending on where you sit, I suppose. Sad in some ways as well.
But. Well, and Jason, as you mentioned that his mother was trying to get back to her country, and the flight, which couldn't get on the plane for whatever reason, and wound up.
They wouldn't let her. She was pregnant. They wouldn't let her go fly back because she was too pregnant. So they said, "Nope, you got to stay here and give birth here." And
there you go.
Now he's an American soccer player.
And we'd like to thank the doctor that did that.
Yes,
whoever you are.
That's right.
For sure.
Exactly. So and we've already touched on this briefly, but another simply amazing sports event that recently took place was the New York Knickerbockers winning the NBA title, first time in 53 years. We're biased, of course, Jason and I, because we're both Knicks fans, but I don't think anyone could have written a better story for the NBA than that particular finals. And it was amazing to see how almost everyone in New York came together for this one particular event. You saw all the overhead shots, the shots from drones. It was amazing. It's been a long time since I've seen New York turn out like that. It was amazing.
Oh, I can only imagine that to have been there.
Yeah.
I am a lifelong, once suffering Knicks fan, right? So, I was going to bring in my Clyde Frazier basketball cards from the day.
Nice.
All of my teams. You guys probably heard of this all before, right? Arsenal, obviously, first time since 1994. The Knicks now. I'm really thinking that the Vikes, this is their year, baby. I'm excited. Kyler Murray is going to bring me home.
No, I don't know about that.
But no, I think it is incredible to see how a sporting event, and a championship in this case, can bring a city together. And to listen to you guys, last podcast talk about just trying to get to the parade. I think that's incredible. And it's a testament to, how enduring sports are in our hearts, our minds, our souls, our very beings. And to see a whole city experience that and come together like that is amazing, right? It's simply amazing. I would have wished that, I watched the Arsenal parade through North London, and the same thing, right? You see all these fans and just, the Arsenal players getting through that smoke and getting to, trying to find a way that they can appreciate their supporters, right, who are definitely so important in helping them to get it over the line, right? And same thing in New York, right? To see those Knicks fans celebrating long after the game is over, right? Nobody going home. Whoever remembers that at a New York sporting event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just, all these people from all these different walks of life, just, reveling in the shared experience, right, of that triumph and that victory. It's just unbelievable, remarkable, right?
Yeah, it's kind
Let's
of
have
like
another one next year.
yeah, it's kind of like how, like politics divides everybody, but sports always brings everybody together because nobody asks you, what you care about other than in that specific sport. Everyone just wants the team to do well, and that's all we care about, right? So sports is always that kind of that thing that brings everybody together. It doesn't matter where you're from or who you are or whatever. It's just one of those things that everyone can get on board for.
I think so. I mean, even again, as part of the Sports Studies minor program, when we first started it, Dr. Delaney in Soch, my good friend and colleague, started we had a sportsmanship day symposium for 14 years in a row until Dr. Delaney retired, and 16 years in a row, and we had a chance to bring the campus together, in Lanigan Hall, one of the big lecture rooms, and give students and faculty, guest presenters, all kinds of people an opportunity to talk about sportsmanship. But when we talk about sportsmanship, what we're really talking about is how that glue is created, right, through sport that does, no matter what team we're on, what side we're on, what country we're in, it brings us together, right? We can appreciate the grandeur, right, of those events and the spectacular feats that those athletes are able to perform. So yeah, it's incredible.
And the fact that you're united and there's joy behind it, because I think Mayor Mamdani in his speech mentioned New Yorkers came together, of course, after 9/11. New Yorkers came together after Hurricane Sandy, and it was to help each other. But there were periods of immense stress and tragedy, but to be able to see the opposite end of the spectrum and people just unite out of sheer joy is it's amazing. Like there's no other way to describe it, really.
That's a perfect way to put it, Kevin. It's like a different kind of cooperation and, love your fellow citizens.
Yes.
I mean, it's just, you in those kinds of tragic incidents, in some measure, you would hope it comes from a spirit of love, but it's also duty and obligation and all those things. And this is just, unrelieved joy.
So what's the summer like for a college professor? Do you get a break, or are you just more preparing for what you're going to be teaching in the next academic year?
Yeah, well, it's different for each and every, faculty member, I'm sure. We still have research and, writing requirements for everyone. And so, some people are working on, their next book, article, book review, things like that. So, I certainly do those things too. Last semester, I had a course release, so I was working on doing a whole bunch of reading and history of the NBA and NHL to get that ready for the sports history class coming up this fall. So, it's juggling things around and seeing how those are going to fit. It kills me to take things out, but at the same time, those are legit things that we need to talk about as well. So, I'm probably shaving a few corners in the Olympic section and, trying to wedge things in a little bit, trying to not spend so much time talking about baseball at the beginning of the semester. So yeah, a lot of it is, preparation for the upcoming classes in the fall. So yeah, but it's thank you all you taxpayers who allow us to do this thing, right, where we get to pursue, our intellectual joys and then bring them to, to the students and hopefully craft for them, not an enjoyable intellectual experience too, right? So yeah, it's not all fun and games, right? It's there's some work involved, but it's pleasurable for sure. It's easy to do.
How does so being a history professor, right? How does your teaching evolve over time, right? With the new events that occur, every few years, like obviously we have the Iran war now, we have things that happen, in the teens and things like that. Like, how do you kind of bring all of that into what you had already been teaching previously?
Right. Well, I mean, I think that historians, professional historians, sort of jealously guard past events, right? We don't like to see things, too strong a ties being made between past and present, right? They're very different circumstances, very different situations. And so you try to prevent people from engaging in that kind of presentism, right? Where the present bleeds into the past and influences your view of the past. But at the same time, I've always, I think, when with you guys who took classes with me and still to this day, I think that history does have lessons to teach us, right? And so if we have contemporary situations that history can, or information from history can help us to kind of figure out where we are and find our feet and think about, how we're going to address the particular situation now, but then, more importantly, I suppose in the future, I don't think there's anything wrong with drawing those kinds of connections, right? In addition to the sport history and intellectual cultural history classes I teach World War II, I teach World War I, I teach the Europe between the wars. And, since 2016, a lot of those classes are very much directed towards trying to make students aware of what happens when situations unfold that require our attention and that can have dire consequences if we don't pay attention to what's going on in the present, right? So when I teach classes on Nazi Germany, when I teach classes on the rise of fascism, I think it behooves the instructor to talk about and to point some fingers and draw some parallels between their own time and the past. So I think that's a big thing. I don't think that we should run away from confronting what's going on right before us and use the past as a way to inform how we think about and make decisions in the present.
So you mentioned some of the classes that you're going to be teaching or have taught. Is there a favorite class that you have that you really like, hope you never, ever let go of and teach going forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, the sports history class obviously is one of those, right? I mean, I put that together in 1995, I think was the first time I offered it. And we're still going. We'll be off again in the fall. And, I think last time I was on, he asked me if it had changed that much. And I was like, oh, well, really not that much. But yeah, it really has, right? I mean, the topics have changed a lot. And it was funny how I did think about that. I'm like, well, that wasn't really a very good answer. But it has changed a lot since 1995, and obviously so, right? And again, partly in response to, changed circumstances that we meet in our contemporary situation, but also because new scholarship always emerges, right? And one of the beautiful things about sport history is really until the early 1990s. I mean, it really gets going in the 1970s, but it's not recognized as kind of a legitimate pursuit until the 1990s. And now there's a ton of people studying it. And so new information is unearthed all the time. But that's the case in every discipline, every sphere of history. So, sports history is definitely always going to have a very important place in my heart. The other ones, I do teach intellectual and cultural history, right? A history of ideas, history of music, literature, poetry, philosophy, those kinds of things. Those are things that I love. And so those are the classes: History 300, which is 19th century intellectual and cultural history, and then 301, which is 20th century intellectual and cultural history. I've always loved those. And, oftentimes, my chairs have been great all the way down the line. Present company accepted. That guy, what a knucklehead. But they, sometimes when there's things that need to be taught, right, or people want you to teach them, and those aren't necessarily the most things that when people read them in the catalog, they're like, man, I can't wait to take that. but I've always filled those classes, and the students who take them seem to really enjoy them. So I feel like that's one of the things I've been very successful with during my career. And I've been able to communicate that enthusiasm to the students. And the ideas and the things we talk about in that class, I think, are extraordinarily important. Just like sports. I mean, sports are another manifestation of ideas and culture, right? And so those are really cool too. I really like those classes.
And what classes are part of the sports studies minor?
Wow. Okay. So sports studies is interdisciplinary minor. So there's 9 departments who offer courses in the minor. Everything from journalism, broadcasting classes, psychology, sports psychology, health and wellness. The health and wellness department does a women in sport history at the same time that I do the same thing in my sport history class. So we have them in those classes. So it's a great collaborative project, right? And we've been able to have it endure as long as we have, and that's hugely exciting. I don't know what's going to happen like when I'm stepping out the door, but I hope somebody will want to pick that up and continue to work with it. It's been hugely popular over time. I used to have almost 150 minors in the program, which is pretty substantial. Now we're trending down, but I think that has something to do with not being a faculty athletic rep anymore, because I used to meet with the teams and I could, do a little advertising. But it's very healthy. It's definitely a substantial minor in the context of the university.
Do you find any particular students from particular majors are more drawn to that particular minor?
Yeah, I mean, comm is king. I mean, as far as that minor goes, right? I mean, all of the broadcasting and journalism students, sooner or later, if they have any interest in sport, right, are going to be in there. And everybody who's, involved with TOPNYO is in there. And which makes it awesome for me, right? Because I've got students who are engaged and enthusiastic. It hasn't been that long since you guys have been in there, so you know what it's like, and it's a blast. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, comm department and Dr. Knapp, she's been fantastic all the way through. And so the deans have been hugely supportive. So yeah, they're definitely number one. But then, students from all the disciplines, all over time, we've had a large number. The student athletes obviously were a huge target audience to have them come in, which again, greatly enriches everybody's experience, right? Because you guys know when you've got, somebody you're going to see, on the ice or on the field or on the court. And, I always ask who's playing on what teams, and now that I don't know as many student athletes as I used to personally, they still, are taking the class and they come in, and then we just have an exchange. Who's got a game? What's it going on? When is it? How am I, how are you going to get there? So, and then we talk, we have a post game throwdown the next time we have class after the games are over. Right. So, it's just a really, I think, rich experience all the way around, and really connects the students with the student athletes and the teams in just another way, right? Than just as a spectator. So it's very cool.
And we've noticed, following a lot of the Laker programs, that Laker athletics has really taken tremendous strides over the past, several years. And it's really great to see that, they're getting the support from faculty, of course, from their fellow students going out to games. And it's just, the program just seems to be getting better and better by the year.
Oh, for sure. Sure. I mean, you guys obviously, can attest to this, from your time there and you guys have done an awesome job too, helping to facilitate that by having so many coaches and, getting them back on all the time is a great way to do that. And then it's awesome for me because I'm like, oh man, I saw you throwing bagels. You just guys crushed it. It's like, oh my God. So yeah, so the coaches love it too. It's awesome. And so yeah, the connection, the program's definitely gotten better, and a lot of that had to do with President Stanley really pushed things up and a huge notch with the campus center and the rink and all that kind of stuff. But then just the commitment, to the teams and to keeping, coaches' salaries, doing the best we can to, keep them fair and competitive. And the athletic directors have been amazing. Right. And so it's like that rock rolling down the hill. And once you get the momentum going, look where we're at now. And I mean, it's just, to me, it seems like a golden era of Oswego Laker sports. I mean, incredible what they've been able to accomplish. And then, when it's not just hockey, but it's basketball and baseball and women's lacrosse and everything else. I mean, all the other coaches and all the other teams, all the other student athletes, are watching what's going on. And, once that buzz hits and the recruiting gets facilitated too, I mean, it's very cool to be there, to be able to experience that.
Well, Dr. Mack, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. This was a blast.
Oh, guys, I love listening to the program. You guys do such an awesome job. And it's just an honor to be able to come back and talk to you again. And I don't know, I'm going to say go USA.
Yes.
I mean,
one day we're gonna have you on, and we're just gonna talk like Orioles and Mets baseball. That's it. That's all we're gonna talk about.
A very dark and cloudy day.
It'll just be a doom and gloom podcast. That's all it'll be.
Okay. Last thing though, I'm reading an Earl Weaver biography right now, so I'm reliving my glory days of my youth. So
there you go.
And again, we've always got that with sports, right?
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
All right. Thanks, guys, so much.
And that was the director of the Sports Studies minor at SUNY Oswego, Associate Professor Dr. Chris Mack, returning to the Throwing Bagels podcast. And as we mentioned with him before we departed, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I always love
a
having him on.
Guest, man. Yeah. So great. So great. And so knowledgeable about a lot of different sports.
I mean, who can go back to like 1930s World Cup? Like, and no, like, boom, right off the top of your head. Like,
just to reference that, right? Yeah. I mean, it's perfect. I mean, I did know that the US, that was their best finish ever, third place. The furthest they've gone since then was the 2002 World Cup when they got to the quarterfinals,
right? Yeah,
quarterfinals against Germany. And there was a handball that was missed by the referee that if it had gone to a review, it would have been a penalty kick and a red card.
For the U.S.?
For the U.S.
Penalty kick for the U.S.?
Penalty kick for the U.S. and a red card to the German defender. I think it was Thomas Hassler. Maybe I don't have that name right, but I don't remember what defender it was. But yeah, so that was the last time they've gotten to the quarterfinals, and hopefully we'll get by Belgium, baby. Let's do it.
Let's go.
I hope so. I mean, like you said, Chris, Belgium is, I mean, I don't want to jinx it or anything like that, but I remember you mentioning recently to us, like Belgium's a little older, right? They're kind of
a little old and slow. Lukaku's not the same. De Bruyne is pretty good still.
They still have some young guys though, right? They still have a couple of good young guys though.
Yeah, I mean Doku is really good on the wing. Trossard on the other side is really good as well. I mean, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a difficult game. I mean, there's no question about it. Now is where it really gets hard. Like starting with this game, and if they get through, they play Spain because Spain won against Portugal earlier. So. Yeah, I mean, obviously Spain is very good, but I don't think they're firing on all cylinders. So, hey, man, you never know. The ball's round. That's what they say.
That's what I heard. That's what I recently heard,
That is the saying. My father used to say it all the time. The ball's round. You never know.
It was, I would, if they lost today, would we consider this still a great run?
No.
Because technically, like, previous to this World Cup, right, round of 16 was the first round of the knockouts.
Yep.
Right now they have the extra round. So they won the round of 32. Great. Now they're in the round of 16. I feel like now's when it really, really begins, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
if you don't win today, then it's just a disappointment.
It's just the same as any other World Cup.
Yeah. Right. Then you're like, I lost in the first round, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at what Mexico did yesterday. I mean, they were really unlucky not to beat England.
That was a great
They really
game,
were.
though.
It was a very good game. Once England scored that third goal, that was really tough for Mexico after that, even though they were up a man.
Yeah.
But as a host nation, that's as far as they've gotten too.
Mm-hmm.
They've never gotten past that stage. So, and Canada, this is the first time they've ever gone to the knockout stage. So it's a great success for them.
Yeah.
But if the U.S. does not get to the quarterfinal, I think it would be a huge disappointment. Huge disappointment.
Yeah. And then Spain is looming, which, I mean, you said they're not firing on all cylinders, but I don't know, man. They're a tough team to beat.
Oh, they're still very good. No, they're very good. They are very good. There's enough said. I mean, they have one of the best players in the world, Lamine Yamal, and
he's only 18 years old.
He's 18, but he has not had a great World Cup. He's scored, but it hasn't been his best World Cup. He had a great Euro, but just hasn't been his World Cup yet. Ronaldo, see you later, sayonara. Have a nice day, Ronaldo. You had as many completed dribbles as the goalkeeper for Cape Verde in this tournament. So if that's any indication,
He
is that it for him?
I think so.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's 40.
Okay. Yeah.
My son just keeps talking about
40, so old.
Yamal
Boy.
nonstop. Like, just keeps talking about him nonstop. I mean, my son's a big Messi fan, but he keeps talking about Yamal nonstop. I'm like,
he's good. He's a good.
I'm like,
player.
how do you even know who this guy is?
I think he's a little soft, to be honest, though, because anytime he gets touched or breathed on, he just falls over and wants a foul and throws his hands.
Maybe he'll learn as he gets a little older.
He will, but when you play in Spain and all the referees are on your side with Real Madrid and Barcelona, you're going to get those calls more often than not. So, but if you were to go to any other league, if you were to go to the Premier League, no, he wouldn't do very well, I don't think.
Yeah.
But in any case, let's go States, baby.
That's right. Let's
go.
Let's win this one.
Throwingbagels.com is our website, not our email. It's our website, throwingbagels.com. Throwing Bagels Podcast at gmail.com. That's our email address.
There you go.
And we did hear from our good friend Ray.
Shout out to Ray, man.
Shout out to Ray, owner of Lil's.
Tavern.
He's a friend of the program.
Yes, he is.
We thank him for checking in. And you can check in with us too. Again, Throwing Bagels Podcast at gmail.com. And we'll see you next time. Go USA.
Go USA.
Let's go Medica.